What is your version of the American dream? Libraries have long been a cornerstone for the American dream, and I love being a librarian because of my belief that everyone can be anything that they want to be by using the library. The dream of Delaware Libraries is to help our state become an even more vibrant and prosperous place where all dreams are realized. At the onset of the recession, we held community conversations in libraries throughout the state. We asked, what do you geek, or what are your interests and talents, and what are your dreams for yourself, your family, your community, and for Delaware? We heard a lot of pride and hope. We also heard a general lament about the loss of community vitality and the need for greater economic development and problem solving. Essential to the notion of the American dream is ingenuity. And we wondered, how could we rejuvenate ingenuity, which is the spark for invention and innovation? Well, as librarians, we have access to all the world's knowledge. So we looked it up. We learned from researchers in informal learning, in positive psychology, and many other fields. And we also conducted our own action research. The theme from our learning is that ingenuity is powered by our own innate curiosity. What are you curious about? Libraries have a unique vantage point for learning. We serve lifelong learning, or learning throughout the lifespan. We also serve what's known as life-wide learning, or learning across all aspects of life. We see that in education, public education has resulted in generations of passive learners. And in business, Delawareans especially have been dependent upon the big business. It's known as the 5 C's: cars, credit cards, chemicals, corporations, and chickens. Due to the economy, we've lost some businesses, some have broken apart and reformed. We still have lots of chickens. We need to be less dependent upon big business and become more entrepreneurial. Even for leisure activities, many of us are spectators. What makes some of us spectators in life and some of us more active creators and developers? Well, when we unleash our innate curiosity, then all our learning, whether for education or workforce development or community development, is more active and effective. So, how do we unleash and nurture our creativity and our ingenuity and our curiosity? Well, many of us track our steps and our weight and our sleep. How many of us also track our learning? Well, we learned that geniuses keep journals. Innovators throughout time, Leonardo da Vinci, Edison, and so on, kept notes and sketches about their ideas, their learning, and their experimentation over time. So, we created a question journal, and we conducted a program called Learning Journeys in libraries throughout the state for many years. We wanted to know whether Delawareans would track the reading and learning. Well, to our surprise, in year 1, 60% of the participants already tracked the reading and learning in a variety of ways using methods that they made up. They used journals, they used spreadsheets, online tools, Post-it notes, and they were capturing books read, quotes, ideas they wanted to remember, and they were using them for various hobbies and workforce, and so on. For the 40% who didn't already track their learning, their responses ranged from, why would I want to do that? To, why have I never heard of this before? They hadn't been let in on the secret. Across the board, what was new to all the participants was the conversation about tracking learning. And the people said that they would try some of the tips that they learned about from us and from each other. We also developed a question journal for parents and caregivers to capture children's questions to encourage their curiosity. I first developed these techniques when my own sons were young. It was clear early on that my oldest, Christopher, was going to have reading disabilities. And as a librarian, it broke my heart to think that he might never read for pleasure. I needed more than my professionals' usual techniques in order to support his literacy. I needed to go deeper. So I started capturing my son's questions, both of my sons, Christopher and Brandon, and I would show them the answers in print even before they started learning to read in order to connect reading with their learning interests. And I found that their questions increased. Do worms have teeth? How many llamas are there in the world? Kids' questions are cute and funny, and they help you and the child see patterns over time. I also tested these techniques in my son's classrooms. The teachers made available a question box where the students could ask any questions, and I would go in once a month and show them the answers. They asked questions of personal interests, world events, and they also asked questions that related to the curriculum that the teachers didn't have time to answer. Questions such as Delaware history, like the collapse of the Cape Henlopen Lighthouse, the arc in the shape of Delaware. The poor school librarian was running to 4 schools, couldn't possibly know what was going on in the classroom or the children's interests. School libraries are in crisis, but I digress. Ultimately, my son came to me as a young teen and said, "Mom, I want information about communism." Not the American dream I was going for, but depends on how I use the information. So we now capture all the tips, tools, and techniques that we can find for tracking learning, and we make them all available at Delaware Library's Unleash Inner Genius. We're also working on a mobile app, a learning app, which should be available soon. Be sure to try a variety and share your favorite tips with others. Some of my favorites include I use field notes to track my learning about learning. I use a modified calendar format to track my yard sale adventures. And of course, I now capture the questions that my grandchildren ask me in order to support their curiosity as well. Expertise is developed within a discipline, whereas innovation occurs across subject areas. And libraries are a linchpin for discovery in all subject areas. We are working with partners and experts in our communities to make a greater available of experiences available that you might not have otherwise, from story times to new technologies to everything in between. So you have the opportunity you might not have otherwise to discover a passion or to make a connection to support your invention and innovation. The key is for curiosity to develop to a depth where the answers don't exist yet, where you're asking new questions that Google can't answer. That's the ingenuity we need to recapture and develop to support initiative, invention, and innovation. Librarians are fascinated by what fascinates you, and we're standing by to help you discover a passion, explore your curiosity, and achieve your version of the American dream. Thank you.